I can go to my grave. I can go to my memorial, um, knowing that I've actually spoken to the man now. But yeah,
And we can put that on your marker for you if you like.
would you? Would you?
Yeah, we could do that.
Achievement in life. Talk to John Campbell once.
You're listening to the Foundry Talk podcast with your hosts, Nate McLean and Perry Merritt. Take it away, boys.
Welcome back. My name is Perry. With me always, as always, is Nate, my partner. Today, we are honored to have with us Dave Rittmeyer of Matthews International. Dave is the Director of Business Development over in the, get me get this right, Dave, in the Bronze Division or the Bronze Group of the Memorialization to something or another.
Yep.
Matthews seems to be a huge company and with lots of different fingers into things. So, and the thing that when Nate and I had talked about getting you on here and talking to you about it, he told me that he had visited one of your foundries, and he told me about the memorialization, the plaques that you guys were making for markers, for grave markers and things. And I was just amazed at the sheer volume of things that you guys do. Can you tell us a little bit about what that is and what you guys are doing there?
Yeah. So under memorialization, we've got our bronze division. We have 2 plants here in the States. We've got investment foundry in Italy, another, we'll call it a sister company or a mirror foundry in Australia, but stateside here, I mean, we make bronze plaques for, I always joke people are dying to use us because they're like concrete vaults, caskets, granite tombstones, bronze plaques, mausoleums and crematory equipment and other stuff, and a whole bunch of other stuff. But yeah, the facility that Nate was at, we do bronze markers, mostly our higher volume, things like that. But we're pouring like 13,000 pounds of bronze a day there. Our Pittsburgh facility is doing like 8,500 pounds of bronze. Again, mostly markers. I mean, it might be a building plaque, dedication plaque. We also do architectural and art stuff. So it's kind of cool. But we are the epitome of custom castings. I mean, like Nate does a lot of one-off impellers. I do a lot of one-off plaques because whenever they make a plaque for me, we need one, unless somebody steals it.
Do you guys, I'm curious because my dad is interred in a naval cemetery out in California.
Yep.
And he's got a bronze plaque on his wall. Do you guys do the plaques for the Navy?
Yep, we do. We have a military contract. So we're doing any of the new plaques, also the replacement as they get damaged at the cemeteries. If something had happened to them, then we replace those as well. But yeah, that's pumps right out of our Searcy facility, Searcy, Arkansas. So
fascinating.
Yep.
So I suppose then you guys will probably end up making, my mom will be added to his thing, box, whatever it is, and they will add her name to it as well. So you guys probably make another plaque for them.
We make a couple.
Yeah, I mean, according to the Department of Veteran Affairs, there's 541 veterans pass per day, so there's a lot to be done. That's for sure.
And you had told us earlier the amount of bronze you guys go through in a day. That is insane.
Yeah. Just between those 2 plants, it's a little over 21,000 pounds of bronze a day.
A day.
Yeah, over 100,000 pounds a week is what I recall. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's you look at the plaques and you go, there's not that much there, but it's the sheer volume. We're set up for that. We pour a modified bronze to make it work for our plaques. So and the nice thing about that, like when I go into other foundries, say it's a bronze foundry, we're not competing unless they pour plaques, in which case I'll just offer to pour them for them, I've got customers that on occasion will pour them and they're like, hey, can you get me a quote for that? Yeah, here you go. Here's your quote. And they'll just have us pour it for them and they can focus on other stuff. We're really, really good at it.
You use a modified bronze? Would you use something different for the bronze just to pour easier or what?
Yeah, to make it work for the plaque support easier, to get the walls that we want, that's all proprietary, what we do to it. But yeah, it's just that's why it's not a competition. If somebody like wants an impeller or a housing or something, you don't want our bronze for that. It's not meant for that. It's specifically alloyed just for the markers and things like that. So, but
Yeah, makes sense.
Well, what's the process like for doing that? I mean, you think about one-off. Every one of them is a one-off, which means every one of them needs a pattern, a one-off pattern for that. What are you guys doing to create that?
Well, see, that's a beauty. We have lots of ways to be able to flex. We can do the old school where you have a traditional pattern. So like the background and the edging is the same, whether it's a hammered finish or some other type of finish, whatever it happens to be. They literally hand set letters to get the name and the date. Maybe you want praying hands, maybe you want a cross. They hand set that, and they seal it up and then they go make a mold off of it. We have other light cured products that can do it. We can 3D print you a mold that can do it. That's the cool thing. We can flex. So depending on resources, or what's going on, whatever it's a better fit, we can flex to do that.
I'm kind of in shock now. Are you hand setting the lettering for all these things?
For some of them, yeah. Some of them are 3D printed molds. Some of them are other options. But yeah, there's literally somebody, they'll set the letters, spell the name right.
Wow.
But yeah. And then they'll go make the mold, pull that out, bring it back in. They'll pull that off, get the letters cleaned off, go on to the next. So, I mean, you got a whole stack of the exact same blank pattern, that has the background, and you just cycle through them. And it's
what determines whether you're going to do the hand setting versus a 3D printed mold?
that I honestly couldn't tell you. Since I'm over just mostly on the 3D for like external, I couldn't tell you for sure. But some of it, what I do know is 3D printing has its limitations at the moment. We have layer lines, so I'm gonna pick on like some praying hands with a rosary or something on it. The real fine detail, the real subtle hands with a slight raise and change, you can mold that. But on 3D printing, it's a lot harder to get at the moment. I mean, there's changes coming that will help with that, in the technology. There's lots of companies working on that, but it's not here yet. So like things like that probably drive a lot of it, but yeah, I'm not real into that one, since I don't deal with it. I'm dealing with
Sure.
the aerospace or architects or artists or somebody else.
Right. So is there any things that you can do that aren't proprietary as far as the orientation of whether you print it laying down where you would see the layer lines versus where you stand it up and then you don't see the layer lines as often? Are there some techniques in that regard with the technology that's available today?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. That's for every job. So, like we're working on a project the other day. We're casting this, like book, and originally somebody oriented it laying down, and we had the layer lines because, like, if you picture an open book, like the old dictionaries that you and us three remember, but the kids don't. They don't know what one is probably. You fold it right in the center, and it humps up, and it slowly comes down. Those gradual angles always show the layer lines, which Nate's very familiar with that. So all we had to do is orient it correctly vertically, and you get rid of those. Now you could have actual layer lines. It's not as smooth. Like if I was printing something flat, I want it laying down. It's as smooth as it can be. But if I have subtle changes, you just have to look at the objects and figure it out. But by and large, like plaques are flat, we need to lay them down. That's the most efficient way to make those.
Can you tell me that you're a pattern maker by
Yep. Pattern maker by trade. My dad's a pattern maker. I'm a pattern maker, and one of my sons is a pattern maker. And I have another son that wants to be a pattern maker. He works at a shop, hoping to get into the apprenticeship there. So,
how has that skill that process. How has that changed over the years? I mean, I assume patterns went from being wood carvings to whatever they are now.
Well, you have the wood carvings, the old wood pattern makers, and there's still some around. A lot of them, those are artists. Man, they can do beautiful work, especially the ones that could do it without a whole lot of tough fill or Bondo on it. You could tell if it was a good pattern maker. Went from that to CNCs to now 3D printed plastic, 3D printed molds. Pattern makers have evolved over the years. What they do, but
Yeah.
it's been a fun change. It's neat. When I started back in '97, I actually started out on the wood side. I was doing metal and wood back and forth. That was part of the apprenticeship. Doing gating, building lighteners, and then whatever happened, and they needed me running duplicators. So then I started running duplicators, which I could still pick up and do. They're not that hard to run. It was kind of fun at times. And then they needed somebody to help with the CNCs, and I was learning how to program those. And then eventually got into at the next job got into doing CAD work, and so it's been neat. When I started, I was actually able to see the transition. Matter of fact, there's his name's Tom Brown. He's cool old pattern maker. He used to own his own shop, and he used to help us out at the shop I was at. And one day I was sitting there, I was doing work, and all of a sudden I hear somebody over my shoulder eating, and I'm like, "It's not break room. What's going on?" I turn around, and there's Tom. He's like, "Oh, don't mind me. I just like watching what you do." And he was, at the time, he was in his 70s at that time. He was admiring the new technology and the changes. And I could do the same thing. I to watch him work with wood or the tricks he had, I could just sit and watch him. So for me, it was this really cool mutual respect of completely different generations and the technologies that were being used. The mutual respect that's there. And it was, I was having a talk with a group of artists I was at yesterday. We were just touring a facility, and they were showing me some equipment. The equipment was built pre-1900. And it worked. No CAD, no AutoCAD, no solidification, no flow analysis. But you know what? The castings all turned out. The machine worked, and the equipment ran. Those people that could do that, I mean, their minds were amazing. I don't know. I get off that tangent, but
No, it's pretty wild, because when you stop and talk about that, because a lot of the equipment, some of it was homemade. When I started in '95, it was we would make some barrel core boxes, real long ones for pistons and cylinders, and they had it was like a kind of like bed on a lathe, but you would build the structure and the staved wood core box, and then you would turn it, and there was a big heavy bar that ran the whole length. It had to be pretty big in diameter just so it didn't have a sag in it. Otherwise, your core box would have a bow in it. But and it had a piece of all thread that ran the whole length, and it had this little star-looking sprocket that would come, and it would trip, and it would move it, index it ever so much along that all thread in that big steel bar, and it would feed this arm that went down that had a lathe tool on it that was hand ground, and they would move it out ever so slightly to get the right radius on that core box. And it was like, who in the world come up with this thing? But it was all handmade. It was unbelievably pretty wild. And wood, those wood guys is totally different, because I mean, we would cut it and we would let it sit and let it acclimate and because it's going to move around a little bit more, and then you would cut it again and you would let it move around, because otherwise, if you cut it and you wouldn't start to assemble something, that thing would be all warped and bowed and everywhere else. It was there's definitely an art to that for sure.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I'd say most of the guys in the shops wouldn't know what the lemon juice is for next to the sink anymore. I
don't even know if I know what the lemon juice is for.
Okay, if you're working with mahogany, it turned your fingers purple.
Get the
use
black
the lemon juice to get that
of
stain off.
Okay. Yeah, I never used lemon juice. Yeah, but it would definitely pigment your fingers for sure.
Oh yeah.
We used to use lemon juice on our hair to make it bleach blonde when we were kids.
Really? That works?
When I grew up in Southern California,
it's still working today.
You wanted to
not gonna
have
work
this,
on you, Nate, but
Yeah, no, we got to put it down here.
Yeah, I can do it.
Yeah, when we were kids and you wanted to have the surfer look, growing up in Southern California, you'd lemon juice your hair in the beginning of summer, and next thing you know, you had blonde hair.
I'll be okay. I
Yeah,
had
it's
no
like
idea.
straw, but you didn't care. It was to look cool. Anyway, I talked a while ago about some of the art castings, and I wrote something down for our first conversation about that you said. I thought it was it was really pretty cool. You said something about bridging the gap between art and industry. So what does that really entail?
So I'm in a unique position because I'm dealing with artists, but I'm also dealing with aerospace. I'm dealing with my background is industry, but I've had a lot of art friends. I go to a lot of iron pours. I tried getting Nate to come to one here a while back, but I mean, I've even got my wife pouring iron. She has her own set of leathers and pours them outside in Madison, Wisconsin in February. It's nice and cold up there. It was 7 degrees the first time she poured, and she hates cold, and so she'll go back. But so I've made a lot of connections and friends in the art community, and all politics aside, budgets have been cut, right, for colleges and stuff like that. So I'm trying to bridge the gap and say, okay, hey, all my art friends, you have access to this 3D printed sand. Whether you want to use it or not, whether it fits your project or not, that's up to you. But you have this. And I've had a lot of artists that are really excited about it. So in that same token, I'm like, okay, let's bridge this gap. There's a lot of universities and colleges. They have their engineering department over here and they have the art department over here. Everybody's budget's cut. Why don't you guys talk? Use the science behind the engineering to help the artists out. The artists bring a lot of creativity and problem solving.
Yeah.
And they can, because I was at Penn State University this week. I was up there talking to them for a project, and we were just talking, and I said, hey, what about this? And he's like, oh, yeah, there's the art department over there. I'm like, and I mentioned the name. He's like, yeah, I know that name. And it's like, how about we talk more? That way the students can pour metal more often. I don't care what it is. They have the opportunity to see it more. And then both can grow and learn from each other, get creative ideas, get more science behind things. Like Kohler has a big art program up in Kohler, Wisconsin. I think it was Wisconsin Aluminum Foundry, just started an intern artist that they're going to start doing. So there's little people, individuals or companies trying to bridge that. I'm trying to help also connect like universities that have an art and an engineering department. Let's get them talking. Share the resources.
Are you seeing success doing that? I mean, have you got any success stories that you could share? Or it's like,
not really. I mean, a lot of it just started. It was a conversation I was having with Sarah Hardling out of Colorado School of Mines. Her and I were talking, and then all of a sudden, Matthew Cummins was there. He's the instructor, also engineering, and now I've got some others on it. So now, even Jerry Thiel's now trying to jump on this because I was talking to him about it, and so there's a lot of people. So now there's getting a little bit of momentum. Now it's just how do we connect the right people to make this work?
Right.
Everybody has their curriculums they have to hit. They need to do this or that, and their schedules are full. Like I talked to one, and they're like, "Oh, our schedule's so full. I don't know how we'd ever do it." And I'm like, "I'm not asking you to spend a month together. I'm not even saying it has to be class, but why don't you do introductions and just, hey, we're doing a pour if you want to come over and join us. Vice versa. For the two groups, and start there. It doesn't have to be formal." Start little and see where it goes. But so that was kind of a letdown to me is they didn't even try to find a solution. They just said, oh, it won't work. I'm like, okay, well, next. I'll keep going.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like a great idea to get these guys talking. And you brought up a point there, how the art guys, I mean, I'm an engineer by trade, right? But you talk to some of these artistic people, and they just have a different way of looking at a problem. and a different way of solving it, and really can be valuable to the engineering side. So
Yes.
and I think conversely the same way. I mean, the engineering guys have got some practical things that they can do that the art guys may not have thought about.
Yep. And that's exactly why I was trying to get everybody to talk, and it's, it'll be a lifelong thing probably because, we'll turn over, but that's okay. I enjoy it. The cool thing is, like, I have a lot of friends in industry. I have a lot of friends on the art side. So it's like, hey, get all my friends talking, and go.
Yeah. Those artists are. I mean, they're artisans. I mean, it's unbelievable. And Perry, we kind of touched on some of that when we talked to Tony. And it was like, it's amazing some of the artists that come in and Foundry people, and they can jive together and kind of problem solve and that sort of thing. So I think it makes a big difference. Because Foundry guys, I mean, we're talking about geometric shapes a lot of times. They're not to say that they're not highly engineered, because they certainly are, but a lot of times we're talking about widgets and they're talking about all of these things that kind of flow, and they're appealing to the eye, and they have the functionality of what they do, and that sort of thing is pretty incredible compared to what we do is in industry.
Yeah, and actually, Perry, you'd asked for a success story. One of them was, so I go around for America Makes, talking for the last tactical mile about, my big thing is modeling. Mold designs, core designs, things like that. So that's what I present on. Well, we're down in Birmingham, Alabama, and of course, my friends down there. I've got a lot of artists down there that I'm friends with. Down at Sloss, is the National Historic Landmark, old blast furnace, and we needed somewhere to tour. We'd like to always tour somewhere, so I connected them and said, "Hey, can we tour?" And they took us through. And of course, they have it set up for a lot of resident artists, and they're going through. Well, through these connections. Kelly Kearns at HA talked with Virginia Elliott, who runs the program down there, and I ran into Virginia, I don't know, 2-3 months later. She's like, "You changed my life. You have no idea how much that's helping me." That connection, because Kelly and HA were going to help them out. I mean, the artists don't use that much. So a lot of like these small donations, like if a big company's like, it's not very much, but to the art community, that could be quite a bit. Because they're not going through the volume of running like the molds, like what Nate's going to pump out at either of his foundries. It's not that kind of volume, but it made her life so much easier. Took pressure off of her. So yeah, I was like, I don't know how I changed your life, but cool. I'm glad I could help. I don't have a dog in that fight. I don't, I just try to help my friends out. So yeah, that was just earlier this year. So.
Reminds me of a story I heard about. So the other guy we had on the cast, Clark Easterling, who runs a one-man show out of Mississippi, right?
Yeah, Mississippi.
Mississippi, and he's got a girl that is in a town close by him. She goes by the name of Cast Iron Gypsy. She's an artist. She
Laura.
does cast iron. Huh?
I know Laura.
Oh, you know her?
Cast Iron Gypsy. I know Laura. Laura and I are friends.
Oh, yeah. How funny. Well, yeah, I mean, she goes to his foundry to get things cast. He helps her out with those kind of things because she doesn't have a foundry going on. Yeah, that's amazing. You know her.
Yeah, the world gets very small. Gets very small. Yeah, Laura and I are personal friends. Yeah, it's.
Well, I hope I didn't misspeak then. I hope I got it right. I got the story right.
Yeah, no, everything's right. Yeah, no, she has her own podcast. Iron is her. She has a podcast that she does, and interviews a lot of artists trying to document like their stories, for future.
Yeah.
And yeah, she's a real sweetheart.
Amazing. Cool. What was the name of her podcast? You know?
The Podcast Iron. Because she's interviewing cast iron artists.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Look it up.
With her multiple times.
Well, that's amazing. We'll have to reach out to her too and have a conversation. Since we have all these mutual friends, it's kind of fun.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Because it was Tony, you guys are interviewing. I was like, I know him. I've talked to him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tony's another great one. I was thinking about, you were talking about School of Mines. I'm out here in Colorado, and School of Mines is close by. Do they hook up Tony with those guys or something? That they could come and see what he's doing, or
Sarah that is at Colorado School of Mines used to work there.
She used to work with him.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, see, the world just keeps getting smaller.
Wow, that is amazing. Yeah, they have to take advantage of the fact. I mean, Tony's doing some great things. He's got a phenomenal foundry. It's just I think those guys those dork engineers at Mines could learn something from.
They might. She's helping with the art side because actually, Sarah went to school for art. She went to school with a buddy of mine, friends with him. He has an art studio in Chicago, and that's how all of a sudden I had no idea she had the art background. I was talking to her at a FEF event, at Cast Expo. The FEF had an event, and we had printed molds for them, and we were just talking to see how their project went. We'd done a couple other things, and I'm not even sure how we got on the subject. And it's like, we were just talking about art. It's like, oh yeah, we were talking, and I said Marshall Svensson. She said, I went to school with him. I'm like, wait, same one out of Chicago? And she's like, yeah. And it was neat. It was just really neat to see all these connections start to go. I mean, it's, you got the 7 degrees separation with Kevin Bacon, but I mean, our community, it's like 2 or 3.
We should do the how many degrees of separation from Tony Workman.
Yep. Yeah.
I'll have to mention that to him.
Yeah. For sure.
It's funny. I'm thinking too, is just listening to this is over the course of these podcasts that we've done, we've hit on the nature of family in a lot of these smaller places. Maybe not so much at Matthews, but a lot of the people we've talked to have talked about just the relationship within the industry and people they're meeting and getting together. And it just reinforces again this sort of notion that it is a small world, and people in this industry seem to be more than willing to help each other out and talk to each other. And it really is kind of a neat thing. And I've said it before, it's just so very different than the world I came out of, where just big corporate, software development places are you don't talk to anybody. So
yeah. Well, I think a lot of foundries used to be very isolationist. I mean, it's kind of funny. As a pattern maker, you'd transfer a tool from one to the next. What's the first thing the foundry that was losing the tool did? They beat the old gating off with a hammer. They took a grinder and wanted you to hide all the runner lines, and then you go put it to the next. Okay, it's like, okay. Or even within the same corporation, like I used to build tooling for foundries that the corporate had multiple foundries, and they wanted to transfer it from foundry A to foundry B. Oh, that gating won't work. Oh, those vents won't work. I'm like, but it worked. It worked
last time we did it.
but and I also understand that there's a difference in their sand. It's slightly different. It's not the same. And maybe their pressures are a little different. And I understand there's little subtle changes, but to me, it's always I've always just chuckled because the other foundry doesn't know what they're doing, but we do. And it's like, well, for some, that's probably true, and that's why they're not in business. But, but by and large, most of the foundries are doing the same thing. So there's still some isolationist stuff. And, certain IP, you have to keep that. But if it's, Foundry 101 basic stuff and somebody's just forgetting something like that, you can help them out and point that out. Most everybody's willing to help.
Absolutely. That's typically the case in the foundry industry, that's for sure.
Yeah, typically. I mean, I've seen it with, the guys that you work with, Nate. I mean, you see the same kind of thing. You guys kind of get together and help each other out, and are willing to take on jobs to help people or work together to create a product.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's just to me, it's a rarity. It seems like a commonality for you guys, but it's refreshing for me to see that kind of stuff happening.
Well, in today's age, we can't afford to lose foundries. Everybody wants to reshore or onshore. One, you don't have the capacity to reshore and onshore everything right now. You don't have the workforce. Finding people that want to do it, the know-how. Yeah, great. You can put up a building and hire a bunch of people, but you won't have the right know-how. That's difficult. We can't afford to lose foundries. So I think, I don't know, I'm hopeful that that's why people are willing to help out, because we all are wise enough to know there's enough to go around and we can't afford to lose. And the more that's onshore, the more we'll have. I mean, a few years back, I forget who it was. It's up in Wisconsin. Nate may know. There's a foundry had a fire. They couldn't run anything. So a foundry that could run similar equipment was running all their castings for them. And then when they were done, they just transferred it all back. It wasn't like, oh, I've got your product and now I'm going to go after all your customers. It was like, they just able to keep running. So I'm sure there's some of that go after each other's whatever. Maybe it's a better fit, but by and large, it's small enough community.
Yeah.
We all have to stay.
Yeah, and I've personally had people reach out, especially when Hurricane Harvey came through and things like that in Houston. People reach out and say, hey, we're just checking on you guys, making sure you guys can still take care of your customers, that sort of thing. And fortunately, we never had any major issues, short-term pains, a few days or a week or so of power issues. But yeah, it was always warm and comforting to know that somebody was out there, thinking about other foundries and saying, hey, what can we do to help? And probably somebody had gone before them and done the same thing for them as well. And it's kind of a pay it forward type thing.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of the conferences like AFS, you're always looking, when you go to any of their conferences or even the NIFS conferences or whatever, you may be looking for something new. You may be looking for a new business, but a lot of it is almost a reunion. You get to see old friends. You get to keep relationships fresh. You get to, see how everybody's doing, or help out with a problem, or get help with a problem, just because of the conversations, like I'm the immediate past chair of the AM division for AFS. And a couple of us has talked. The meetings are great. We get through stuff. You got to do the business. You have to do it. We work on papers or projects or whatever it happens to be. But personally, a lot of times it's the meal before, the dinner after. Well, we're just sitting there talking, and something hits your mind, and you say, "Hey, Nate, hey, I was having this problem. You ever come across this?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, so and so. Oh well, I heard of that. Perry had it, and Perry's across the way." And we pull you in, and we're having this conversation, and it's you can't have that in a meeting, but man, there's so much value from just a few hours of dinner and talking with people, and that's the close knit of this community, that the casting community. Really, it is.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, that's what when we talked to Jared over at NFS NIFS, I can't say NFFS. That's exactly what he said, where the value comes in, right? Is those meetings, those getting together, and the spirit of this sort of just reunion, if you will. He's talked pretty openly about that's what the value of their national sort of get-togethers are.
Yeah. Well, everybody can't know everything, but there's enough people. Somebody probably has that answer, and that's having a network.
Yep. So for sure.
So I'm going to switch gears a little bit here, and maybe I don't know. We'll see how it goes. We have talked in the past about bringing people into the industry, and you kind of hit on the importance of keeping the industry alive. Is there anything Matthews is doing that you can talk about that to help attract people into the foundry business, to help retain them in the foundry business? Is there anything that you guys are doing that's unique, or do you struggle to find people? Are you
For general foundry, if you're looking for general foundry labor, that's all local. So there's not much recruitment other than trying to do local, treat your employees good. Treat them like you'd want to be treated. We're doing that, but like engineering wise, we'll go to FEF events, which is Foundry Educational Foundation, I think. I always just stick with FEF. do things like that. I mean, we have interns. Like we had a bunch of interns. I was talking to one yesterday out at the plant. He's here for the summer. This week's his last week. And we had interns anywhere from legal to mechanical engineers. That's how one of the guys that I work with, Jake Vargo, they had him as an intern years back, and he rolled into, all of a sudden him and another guy, Bernie Kuhn, they were the ones that were setting up our first 3D sand printer. So we're trying to recruit them that way. We've got a foundry engineer down south at Arkansas, FEF event. We're trying to recruit him in. That was a relocation, because he's coming from college, but that wasn't his area. But that's how we're recruiting, trying to help that. So supporting those, supporting AFS, FEF. I don't know for sure if we're members of NIFS. If not, we probably should be. We pour a lot of non-ferrous. Just a little of it. Supporting those organizations. We'll do some community outreach. The bigger companies, sometimes it's harder, but it's easier. It depends on what you're looking at. But still, like I work with a lot of the artists I work with are going into schools. So I'm helping support them with like little Foundry in a box ideas, or like one of the artists, I've printed her match plates so that she can use, and showed her. I run at the iron pour that we went to Pour Your Heart Out. Now I run that event for the Foundry in a box. We'll print match plates for her, and we'll print little cores. I've sent them to other places just to encourage the youth, like the whole casting dreams thing that DoD is behind, I think. Just trying to support that, to help that. A lot of people don't know that we're necessarily doing it. We're behind the scenes, which is just fine. We're not out there asking for it, but the people know where to come and ask. Hey, do you have something for this? Yeah, here's an idea. Or yeah, here's this. Or I've got a plastic printer, little filament printer sitting right beside my desk. I'll spit match plates out. I've done it for different AFS chapters. I'll do it for artists, or print them like little scratch blocks. So they'll do scratch tiles a lot of times, these fours, but I found a way to incorporate that with a 3D printed match plate that you hand pack the mold, then you pour. So you get all this different technology. I do this for a bunch of engineers too. That's the best part when I do this at AMUG, Additive Manufacturer User Group. I run that there. So I'm showing this aerospace engineer who's never seen any metal poured. They're making their own mold. They're pouring their own mold and getting a casting. It's not just this 3D printed metal stuff. So it's kind of funny. We do it for aerospace engineers all the way down to little kids. Heck, I did it in my kitchen table and scratched the kitchen table up just a little on family Christmas. Everybody was over. We were done. I pulled Foundry in a box out, and I have my nieces and nephews. They're all making castings in my kitchen.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so that's what that's some of the stuff we're doing. And there's other ways. I have no idea what they are, but if I can, I'll help, and it's just fun.
Yeah, I thinking back in my career, I mean, some of the best engineers I ever hired, I hired as interns, and it's a great way to see a lot of things. You can see their aptitude, but you get to see their attitude. And as an intern, summer intern, if you have to let them go at the end of the summer, no harm, no foul, right? It's a little bit harder than a little bit easier than getting rid of an employee. So, but I hired some great kids that turned into just being stellar engineers, and I've gone on to do really, really good things. But that's just for an intern program.
Yeah. We've got multiple that way. I'm sure that won't change.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, yeah, and you had mentioned apprenticeships and that sort of thing. I mean, that's kind of I would think it would be a little bit of a dying breed, depending on where the region is or what the industry is. But you hear less and less of that today, anyway.
Yeah. Well, and I'm hoping that a lot of that'll come back. There was that big push that everybody has to go to college. It's this cycle back and forth. I don't know about you, but I like my indoor plumbing.
I love it.
I love it.
I like to flush it and it goes away.
Yes. I mean, I had a pipe issue a few years back. It took me 3 different plumbers to finally get somebody that was work on it. One showed up, said, I'll be there in 2 days. Okay, we waited. He showed up and he looks at it and goes, I don't want to do it. I'm like, so I had to call 2 counties away, which ended up being out of state because I'm not too far from the Indiana-Ohio line. I had to get a plumber to come over because I couldn't get anybody else to even come because they're busy. So, I mean, you got those trades, but then the pattern making trade, that's changed. Like I used to oversee the apprenticeship at my previous employer. You know, I was proud of that. You know, we brought up some really good apprentices, now journeymen, really good guys, one being my kid, you know. But, you know, that take pride in it of what they are, that lineage, you know, of pattern makers. So hopefully that stuff continues. Again, it'll change, but you have to have the journeyman there to teach. Otherwise, it's not a true apprenticeship. You know, I had somebody, this is years back, they're like, we're going to start an apprenticeship. I said, okay, cool. Who are your journeymen? Oh, we don't have any, but we're going to do the apprenticeship. And I'm like, that's not how an apprenticeship works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to send them to the college to take a few classes. Okay, that's part of it, but that's not how it works.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's okay. I don't know whatever happened with that one with them, but yeah, no. Apprenticeships that's treated my family really well, many other families that I know really well. And the cool thing is I was talking to a friend of mine, she had a friend, he was some type of engineer. His son just completed his mold making apprenticeship. He's now a journeyman mold maker. So, and we were just talking, and she's like, I was kind of surprised because, his dad's this. I'm like, well, one, there's nothing wrong with it. And 2, he came out with no debt. They paid for any classes. And now I said, he can literally go anywhere in the world and get a job, not just stateside or in the state. He wants to go to Europe. Guess what? It's the same stuff. Maybe a little bit different lingo. He may have to work with metric if he's used to inch, but a lot of shops are doing both. It doesn't matter. But I'm like, and she's like, really? I'm like, yeah, legit. He can write his ticket anywhere he wants to go. That's the beauty of an apprenticeship like that. They can go on a journey if they're a journeyman or a journey person.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah.
So when it comes to the 3D printing stuff, I mean, because you've been doing it forever, it seems.
Mm-hmm.
The different technologies or the different resins that are used whenever utilizing 3D printing. Matthews, you guys use a different process than a lot of other places, mainly because of the. Can you give us an idea what the advantages and the pros and cons of that technology are?
Yeah. So by and large, most everybody's running a Furan printer. It's the easiest one to run. There's also a different phenolic out there. It's a PDB by Voxeljet, phenolic direct binding. We run a CHP, cold hardening phenolic. It's an ester phenolic. There's pros and cons to all of them. The thing that I learned early on was how the sand falls off the CHP. So anybody that's ever had a Furan mold knows there's like this gray sand that sticks to it. It just won't fall off. You have to blow it off, rub it off. If you have a hidden pocket, you may never get it out. Ours will just fall off. And to me, it's like therapeutic. It's like watching sand run through an hourglass. I have videos on my phone that I give in presentations of it just draining out. That's the biggest benefit to our system. That and the detail, because we'll run a thinner layer thickness. Of course, what we do for castings, they just have to look pretty. If it's off a 32nd of an inch, a 16th, honestly, nobody'd ever know. Nobody'd ever care. But that's what they chased when they went after it, and the other systems weren't going to work. But when we couple pretty with dimensional accuracy, now you've got something that, turns heads. It's not for everything. If you, we literally just got done assembling this mold that's 96 inches tall, tallest mold I've ever done. But if you want a mold the size of a job box, which I've printed those in Furan, you don't print that in CHP. CHP costs more. It doesn't have the strength for something like that. I'd have to piece it together. So that's the con. We run a finer sand, so it's less permeable. That's a con, but we get better detail. But then I can print vents in that I can drain out. So you can negate some of the cons, but it's the pros are really the detail and the way the sand falls out. The con is the strength, and that's, it's the inverse for, like for Furan. Matter of fact, I have some friends. I only talk about all my friends. All my friends are like industry related. We have like my wife and I, we have our best friends are the only people outside of this group. Other than that, it's my friends at AMUG, my art friends, my Foundry friends. That's all I have. So my friends up at Wapaka, they have a printer. And I said, hey, that T-Rex skull that's behind Nate's head, which if you need more of those to give away, let me know. I know where to get more. Yep, that beautiful thing. I love T. I said, hey, I'm going to bring you some molds. Can I get you to print them out of Furan? I wanted my crew to see, because they're like, what do you mean the sand doesn't fall out? And if anybody that listens to this has ever cleaned Furan, they're like, yeah, we know exactly what you're talking about. So, like that T-Rex skull is a single piece mold. I delivered them to Wapaka. They gave me some that are out of Furan. I delivered to the guys. I said, okay, dump it out and clean it. They dumped it. Most of the sand fell out of the pour cup. Nothing came out of the screw. Nothing came out of the vents. They're like, it's not coming out. I'm like, yeah, I know. That's why the first time I walked into the plant and I watched them just take one of our molds, tip it, and it just fell off and I could see everything. And I'm like, I still have to do it. I still have to see it because I just think it's so cool. Because I started, let's see, that was what, 2012? Maybe it's 2011 I designed tools that needed them. 2012 we were getting into it. And then, so that was my life. Oh, you got to figure out how to get that sand out, put access plugs everywhere. And now it's like, I get to cheat. I don't need a plug. On occasion, you put them in to make sure you get it out. But that's like the biggest thing is the detail and the finish and the sand removability. I've done impellers with no parting line. I've done, that T-Rex, no parting line, multiple castings without parting lines, which helps with dimensional accuracy and keeps the cost down.
Sure.
Because now you don't have two pieces. So
You mentioned
it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, you mentioned permeability, gas permeability. Is that, well, you mentioned permeability. I assumed gas.
Yep.
Yeah. Are these molds? That's one thing I wondered about the 3D printed molds. How permeable are they? Or do you have to vent them special or something? Or are they just like green sand? They'll just vent?
Well, it depends. The answer is it depends.
Okay.
So if you're running like an 80 GFN, it's very permeable. But we run 110. So we're going from a perm, like if you're running 80 GFN, it's the perm on printed molds, normally aim from 160 to 200. We're closer to like 70 to 80 on the 110 because we have so much more surface area. It's a very fine sand. So normally, yeah, you have to vent more often. I'd say the 80 GFN molds are really comparable to green sand, maybe even more. Nate would probably have a better answer on that one. I don't even know what a green sand mold is. I think it's lower than that.
It's pretty close. It's very similar. Yeah.
Yeah. But like our molds, we'll put extra vents in because it just can't breathe. That way it's either letting the gases out that are getting burned off, or just not trapping air because the metal came in and it can't push the air out fast enough. So yeah, we'll vent more often. Matter of fact, I've started even playing around. Sent some to Nate. I've sent them to others where they're actually latticed out on the inside. It gets rid of some binder. It helps with shakeout because you don't have this big solid chunk, and then it can also help it breathe a little.
Yep. And it definitely helps.
Do you guys work with, I assume your customers are foundries. If you're making molds you're making them for the foundry, but they have an end customer. Do you guys work with them to design the mold to help, for the gating, for the venting, for the whatever feeding things? Do you work with them to do it, or do you just do it, or do they just hand you a print, say here you go, or a drawing and say make it happen?
Okay, so a little bit of a mixed bag. I'll work with the foundries. Normally the foundries are going to give us the gating, or they'll give us a layout that they want us to use, because whoever's pouring it needs to be responsible for that. I will model it to whatever I'm told, but I will design a mold around that gating system. But we do have some foundries that send us molds ready to print. Others give us a 2D print of a casting and say we need you to do it from start to finish, and they'll give us the input. So whether it's a foundry, an OEM, we work with all of them. DoD, well, we're not direct DoD. We're down working on some stuff that we're like tier 2 now. Working on some stuff. So, close to the OEMs.
Okay. Because I would imagine I would imagine somebody understands their part, but they maybe not understand the mechanics of getting it poured, right? And so you could help them out.
Yeah. Well, and that a lot of that'll go back to the foundry, but that's where, like, me as a pattern maker, I've literally worked with foundries around the world, tons and tons of foundries. I may have an idea, but I'm still not going to design it. But if I see something that looks really goofy, I can raise the question and say, hey, is this right? I'll do whatever, but is this right? So, you'll have that, but, like the mold design, again, that's where like my apprenticeship and the pattern making skills, and that's now why I go around talking about mold design, trying to help, because I've seen some really, really bad designs come in and people complain that their molds won't go together. It's like, yeah, I know, because of your design, here's ways to improve. But yeah, so most OEMs, they have no clue how to design a mold. There's a lot of foundries that don't know because they've never done that. They have customer wants the part, they call the pattern shop builds the tooling, designs the offset partings. The foundry said, hey, here's where we want risers and gates and vents and everything like that. The pattern shop did that, but a lot of the foundries don't know how to model an offset parting. How do you get it to lock together right? How did you do that? How do you get it to follow up and down so your locators are all in the same section of mold and not across partings? They may know what they want, they just don't know how to get there. But that's changing, especially with a lot of the students coming in, interns coming in, young engineers. They've got some CAD experience and they're learning. A lot of the schools are trying to teach them. That's where the cast and steel competition that they run, Steel Foundry Society. I worked with a lot of different colleges and universities on that, and they'll send in their mold designs, and then I'll have meetings with them and say, okay, here's some problems. We can do it like this if you want, but here's a problem. The one that I really liked was the Halligan bar. As being a firefighter, Halligan has forks on one end and adds and a spike. It's what we use to force doors, house doors, car doors. It's a tool that I know. I actually have one out in my truck out there. But I was like, ooh, this is cool. I have my own. But it's like they were designing it and the forks curve so that way you can apply pressure and it's a wedge so you get a mechanical advantage. Well, they were just shooting straight across and it left this really thin section of sand. I'm like, one, I might be able to print it, but even if I do, it's probably going to get knocked off. Or if it doesn't, it'll get knocked off when you're pouring and it's going to be in your casting. I said, if you just change it and do an offset. Well, they didn't know that. Their instructors don't know that. So I helped them and I sent it back and forth. I've had some that don't really care, and I've had others that will start asking a lot of questions, and it's like, ooh, I want to know where you go, or maybe we can hire you because you're asking the questions they actually wanted to learn. So, working with them, trying to train them, it's the pattern making is such an old school world. It now has to transition into digital. Well, it's going to be a lot of these engineers, so we have to pass that along. Get a good mold design.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's. I mean, that could be an apprenticeship all in itself is mold design.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you asked if I ever go around giving classes. Like
I did.
You did. Yeah. I've never thought about it. Some of it I used to take a lot of it for granted. It's like, I thought everybody knew this. Well, it's just pattern makers know. But I've seen a lot of stuff come in from pattern makers that are stuck in old ways. So they used to design everything with sharps and then let the tool wipe it in. And then it gave it natural clearance. So like if you modeled a sharp corner on an offset parting, if you're going around the one side, it leaves it sharp. But when you're going on the other side, the tool would leave a fillet in there, giving you natural clearance. Did it work? Sure. But how do you know which tool that Joey ran and you have to recut it and now you got into it? Whatever. But so those guys need to step it up a notch. But the ones that model everything, it'll do better. Like my son Kyle, when I was working with him back when I was at my previous job, he thought I was just being dad and nitpicking. I'm like, no, no, no. There's reasons why. And now, like his trees for tooling have gotten better. His designs are better now that he understands. But it's just about that. I mean, he was a journeyman at that time, but it's about that learning because you never stop learning. In teaching tricks. So I do a lot of that. Work with foundries all over, trying to help with the designs. Things like that. You help with the universities. Heck, I was just asked to be on the advisory board for castings at Penn State. We'll see. So many hours in the day.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's good. That's really good. Expertise is needed all over. So it's a positive thing having the people that actually have the expertise and know what they're talking about to be advisors and mentors and coaches for sure in this industry.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was just thinking about the value of going through that process of, and the value too of, it's expensive, but letting them do it wrong and letting them learn from the mistake. I was like, look, see, if you had left that thin piece of sand in there, see what had happened here, now you've got a hunk of sand inside your casting, or you've got whatever. And having that, I assume it's the same in every world, but some of the people would say, yeah, so, and some would see it as a real problem. And how do we fix that, right? And those are the ones you want to try to go after and try to keep grow into employees and get them to come into that field.
Yeah. Well,
that was the thing about.
I'll do that still. Let them. You can tell them the burner's hot, but until they burn themselves, they don't really understand. If it's not a catastrophic. This is going to, scrap out a $3,000 mold or bigger, or I don't care, even $1,000 is a lot of money to me. Okay, will it work? Yes. Is it the best? No. Here's why. You'll see why. But if it's all out, it's a big problem. I'll stop that. I mean,
Sure.
Because, failure, whether whose fault, no matter whose fault it is, everybody involved, it's partially their fault. So, but sometimes, let them get burned by the fire so that they will learn.
I can see where that, the foundry in the box concept could actually be really useful, right? Let them design a pattern to make a mold with, and let them see what happens. Oh, it didn't flow. I got a big gap up here where it didn't go into, or whatever, and try to figure out why. I mean, I learned a lot of stuff by making bad molds and not getting metal to flow into the corners.
Failure is a great teacher. Oh.
Yes. Yeah. And that's, those were cheap mistakes for me because it was just the cost of my time. It wasn't really any other cost involved. So,
Yeah.
Yeah. Like Nate said, failure is the best teacher. Because if you had all success, was it luck? Or did you really know what you're doing?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and until you, and if you have somebody, a good team, and whoever the team lead is, and everything, they make everything look so easy. And then when they're gone on vacation, and the next thing you know, people have to step up. And they're like, "Oh crap! What did Bob do that made this look so easy?" We had a molder at D that Pancho Ramos. I mean, he could make stuff out of stuff that you'd be like, what in the world? Why are we doing it this way? First off, but that's the way he had always done it. He made it look so easy, and it's just wild. The expertise that is in this industry, it's pretty amazing, the talent that's out there.
Yeah,
but they've got to be able to transfer that knowledge down too, though. I mean,
for sure,
it's one thing to say, "Wow, how did he do that?" But having to explain it and explain why, maybe.
Yeah, and that's part of the problem. That the tribal knowledge is to be able to capture that and to be able to progress that forward to the next generation, the guys that are coming. And sometimes unfortunately, those guys, they don't necessarily know how to transfer that knowledge a lot of times. So therefore, the amount of money that it takes to do it, you've got people that are either shadowing them for a period of time to be able to see what they're doing and why they're doing it and that sort of thing. So there are multiple ways of capturing that tribal knowledge, in my opinion. But it would be much nicer if they could communicate it and teach it in a way that moves the ball forward. But that's not always the case.
Well, sometimes they think that they're less valuable if they share because others can now do what they can do. When it's really
Right.
the inverse, they're more valuable. You're setting yourself up as the leader that can train, and I could show either one of you all these little things, but there's like the little subtleties of what happens in your mind or in your emotions, like if you're making a mold by hand or doing that you don't even realize you're doing. It's just it's a technique that you've learned. Well, you can't really verbalize that. So you're always up above, but you can always try to pull. And as long as whoever's trying to learn is receptive, those are the ones I like, is that, find the people that are receptive, that are willing to question, but are willing to still, okay, I understand. And there's times you just, like, I'll go back to like the fire department. There's times to teach and times that you just have to do as I say. We can teach later. Sometimes it's, hey, everybody's under the gun. I mean, you've got work coming out your ears. I need you to do it this way and this way. And this is why. Just go, and we can go over the nuances later. Other times when you're slow, man, I hope people take advantage of that. Cross training, bringing people up to understand different aspects, because that's been one of the things. Like the previous shop, even at Matthews, is okay. Perry made the mold, but Nate's pouring it, and I'm the one cleaning it up. Well, because of the way Perry made the mold, I'm having a harder time cleaning up the casting because it's ratting off here or there. It's a lot of cleanup. Well, if Nate's buddy that made the pattern would have done a better job, all our lives would have been better. Maybe you wouldn't have got sand in when you're pouring it because, he didn't rat off and leave it in there, So it's understanding every aspect. I think that helps people. Don't stick to, well, all I do is this. I'm not going to learn anything. Well, if you understand those, you understand, hey, if you don't have to do that, it doesn't affect me, but if you do this, it helps me. And then we can help everybody.
Yeah. Why am I the bad guy in this story? I don't understand.
You're in the middle. You're in the middle, Perry.
Well, he's on my right, so
Oh yeah, I'm on the far left over here. So.
Oh well, there you go.
Okay. Yeah, Dave. That there was a story back in my career. I used to work with a guy who was a senior engineer, and he refused to share knowledge, especially with younger people, because just exactly as you said, he said, it's going to make me less valuable. If people know what I know, then I'm less valuable to the company. They'll let me go. And I tried to explain to him, I said, you don't get it. If you can dump off a lot of that stuff, it frees you up to go do other things that are more interesting and grow and become a better employee. And it makes you more valuable. And he just never understood that. And he kept things right close to the chest, never would share with people. And the end result was he was a far less valuable employee. Because he just couldn't scale. He couldn't do anything. Everything he had to do everything, and then he wouldn't share it. It was just crazy. Yep. So yeah,
I've run across people like that. They're like, "Oh, it's all up here." I'm like, "That does no good when you get hit by a bus." Or you need information, and he's like, "Well, I'll have to tell you about that because I don't have any documentation." I'm like, "Really? Document it. Help the others out." As far as training them, like, my previous place, that when we'd with the apprenticeships, as they were training, the old guys, I'm not one of the old guys, but, they would know if somebody was truly interested. If somebody genuinely wanted to learn, you could watch it with all the apprenticeships. You knew who genuinely wanted, and those guys know. If somebody showed a genuine interest and really wanted to learn, because the knowledge that's in their head, they have things that come up every couple or 5 years, or they've only seen it 2-3 times in their whole career. So it's not like they can unload it all. But if you showed genuine respect and interest in their craft, oh, they would hold your hand the whole way. But the second you're there, it's just a job. They were done. They wanted nothing to do with you. They were wasting their time. So, like, for anybody younger, man, show a genuine interest. And, man, there will be somebody that will take you under your wing and will help you the whole way.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we've heard that. How many times have we heard that, Nate? You know, it's attitude, right?
Many.
Finding the right person with the right attitude, who's hungry, who's willing to get in there and do the work and willing to learn. They'll go a long way. You go a long way. You'll have
Yep.
Yeah. It's amazing. And it's cross industry.
Yeah. I think that's the same. I don't care what industry. Yeah. 100%. You're right.
Yeah. I mean, I saw it in the software world. You're seeing it in the foundry work and manufacturing. I mean, it's sort of cross generational. It's cross industry. Got to have the attitude.
Yep.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. You know, one thing that I was amazed at, Dave, when I was in Searcy, Arkansas, was the sheer volume of the amount of molds that those guys were putting out, the efficiencies of the products coming out of the printers, going into the kiln, coming out of the kiln, going to the mold line, and then getting assembled and poured and processed and cut and going right off to go to the cleaning and blast and all those sort of things. Unbelievable, the amount of volume that was going through there. It just goes to show you that with the right engineering and the right thought process, that how efficient something can be. And you kind of alluded to that earlier. You know, it's if somebody needs a plaque, it's one of those things. You know, Matthews is the place to be. That's for sure, because of how good they are at that sort of thing. So,
yeah,
pretty amazing. And hats off to you guys.
Thanks. I'm curious. Lodge. Have you ever been to Lodge? Their foundry?
No, but I've heard a lot of stories and talked to Henry Lodge and those guys, and it's pretty amazing, some of the stuff that they have coming out of there. I still don't know. I've asked the question I don't know how many times. Who in the world's buying so many cast iron pans?
I don't know who's buying them, but you see them at Cracker Barrel when you stop, because I like Cracker Barrel, and it came from Lodge, and their prices they're selling, which I don't know how anybody's making money, but I'm not complaining because I do like my Lodge. I like some others too, but like, you want to talk efficiencies. I mean, Matthews we've got it down. It's not automated, but there's a lot of handwork. But you want to talk about efficiencies. If you ever get a chance to go through Lodge, if Henry lets you in or want somebody there, it'll go from molten metal to in a box ready to ship within hours. I mean, make the mold, pour it, it goes down, shake out, it goes through blast, it goes through seasoning, it comes down, and they know what they're running. The boxes are sitting there, it's packaged up, it's put on a pallet, and it's ready to ship. I don't know if the distance is 100 yards or 150 yards, how they do it, and then it's in a box. That, to me, I will never, ever forget that one. That was like the most efficient I'd ever seen. But I mean, Matthews is really efficient too, don't get me wrong, but that's like the gold standard. And it's like, oh, well, what can we do? How do we improve? Because everybody needs to improve on efficiencies, and that's part of the thing of
absolutely
getting out to other foundries. But I'm still amazed when I go through like the Searcy plant, especially because that's really set up for our volume. Man, how it just right on through, from the molding to pouring to cutting to finish, and then paint and everything else is
Yeah, the one thing that got me was the overhead mold line. How everything just moves, and it move it or lose it. It's coming through. You better get that thing done, because the next cart's on the way. It's like there is no time to scratch your nose. It didn't seem like. It was pretty amazing. Those guys are kicking some butt.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's all. I think it's on a clutch of some type when they'll engage it. But it's definitely on the move. It has to be, that's how you keep your prices reasonable and keep your efficiencies there. Absolutely. And stay in business.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Pretty impressive for sure. And so, I mean, some of the stuff, it's not just the memorial plaques and that sort of thing. But they make a lot of the vases and stuff that lock into the headstones and things of that, or actually the plaques. I think they have a locking system on there, but, is is there anything that Matthews does? And the reason I ask this is because I have a nephew that actually owns and runs a cemetery in Oklahoma. But I would think that theft would be a thing that people have to deal with. Is that part of anything that gets thought about whenever you guys are designing anything for modeling or anything like that? Is theft prevention and things of that nature, since they are copper-based alloys?
On the vases, there's not a whole lot you can do because it goes in, it locks in, or you unscrew it and flip it over and put it in so it locks in for the winter, so it doesn't fill with water and then freeze. You've got that, but the plaques, they're all held in with fasteners into the stone or whatever. If somebody wants to steal it, they're going to steal it. The funny thing is a lot of the cemeteries know what it is, or some of the scrap yards, they know. It's you're unless you're going to melt it yourself, which I think you guys had a talk on that one, how it's not really worth it. You need to just buy the ingot from I forget who that
Absolutely.
was, but it's just like
it was Chris Green.
Yeah, probably Chris.
Yeah. I know there's some thought put into it, but at the end of the day, it's a flat plaque on a flat area. You can only do so much. If somebody really, really wants to steal a thing, unfortunately, they're going to bust the granite up or the concrete up a little, getting it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, most of the time, I suspect there's probably less of that than what people think, just given the fact that it is a cemetery. So, that's the good part about that.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of it, but it does happen, or somebody tries to steal it and it's damaged, and then we'll replace it.
Yeah.
We'll send it back. We'll replace it and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I wouldn't think that the plaque would be as much of a thing as like the vases and stuff, because they're kind of accessories that go along with it.
Yeah.
So it's a lot harder to try to figure out where you're going to get rid of a stolen memorial plaque.
Where'd you get this from? I see the name on there. They know right where.
It's my great uncle.
Yeah.
I can imagine somebody going, "You're an idiot."
Yeah. Okay. I was gonna say we'll do stuff like that, but like we just had a story. We had a group in talking about like plaques, Baseball Hall of Fame. We do those plaques. So
okay.
It's just not dead people. Well, some of them might be dead still because Hall of Fame. But it's cool projects. I know like our group, they take a lot of pride in stuff like that. We've had that. I think somebody said like 40 years we've been making the Baseball Hall of Fame plus different ones. But that's cool.
Awesome.
But
yeah,
no one's stealing those.
You talked when we've been talking about you guys casting these things. What is the rest of your process? I assume you guys are doing an inspection, you're doing cleanup, you're doing something. What else do you guys do with these memorials when you cast them?
Oh, exactly that. We'll do the inspection, cleanup. If there's a little vein from where the mold cracked, can we clean it up or did it scrap it out? We've got a lot of artists that are cleaning up the castings. And then we'll get the paint or patina and a clear coat. Some are just all one color with highlighted bronze. Some are, you never know. It's so customizable. Heck, we've got some. We actually did a plaque for Liberty Pattern Friends. They have printers as well. But we did what we call image cast. And it wouldn't do me a good to try to show you pictures here. It wouldn't come through very well. But we could take a picture of Nate. We could cast them on the plaque. And the way we have a process of doing that, it looks like a picture. We've done it for popes. We've done it for a lot of firefighter or police memorials. We did one for Don Knotts. We've got it with Barney Fife and a whole bunch of his different characters on the plaque. I've got pictures on my phone because we have, they turned out good enough. We're allowed to have one at the plant. So in our conference room, so I've got pictures that I'll show people. And it's just really cool. It's our traditional stuff. And people are like, that's a casting? I'm like, yeah, that's a casting. And it looks just like them. It's not, full 3D or anything, but it's enough texture. And that's our digital artists will get in there. And after it's, painted up, to make it highlight certain surfaces, and man alive, it comes to life.
Are they doing
Yeah,
that?
so they'll do all
They're
that.
doing that from a photograph then? A 2D
Yep.
photograph?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I've seen people doing that, artists doing that kind of sort of thing, where they're cutting a relief into a plaster mold or something. Are they doing this digitally, or are they doing it old school? They cut in clay, or
Well, yes, all. So
all
what
of the
we
above?
have, all the above. Like for like the Hall of Fame plaques, we have an artist that comes in and carves the clay. He'll sculpt all the clay to do that. For what we call the image cast, we'll take a digital picture. They've got software to highlight, more or less pull different things like your lighter colors and your darker colors and shove them the opposite way. Like there's some free online stuff, and I've done it before for my little 3D printer, and it turns out okay. But we've got something a little bit better than the free version, that really lets us do what we want to do.
Yeah.
And you got people that do it all day, so they know, even if it was the free version, they know what they want to push or pull or how much. So literally, we'll use every technology that's out there. I mean, it's kind of funny. I'm still not sure what all like 3D printers we have. I know we have the sand printers because that's my world. But we have some little SLA printers. We've got some, I don't know, at least 2 other types of technology that I know of. We probably have a 5th at least. It's just like, yeah. So we have all kinds of different things at our disposal, and we'll use them all. We're not going to say we're not using that. If it makes sense, we'll do it.
Yeah. Pretty cool stuff. I mean, the fingers that in the directions that Matthews is in is pretty impressive. I mean, and I see their trucks all the time, hauling stuff around. It's pretty amazing how many times I actually see it. Matthews memorialization and different things.
Before I started working for Matthews, I never saw them. Now all of a sudden I'll see them. Yeah.
Yeah, I see them quite often.
I guess I'm gonna have to get out and look. I have to leave my house.
Yeah. You'll probably see a white vehicle with a red M and on the side, and
yeah,
that's us.
Yeah, pretty cool stuff. Well, that's wild. Is there, as far as young individuals that are wanting to get involved with mold design or any of those type of things? I mean, is there a pathway that you would recommend from your perspective for them to actually do that they don't necessarily want to get involved with a lot of college debt and the things of that nature?
I've never really given that much of a thought other than trying to work for a shop. And then, you could, like, I've trained people that, nothing more than a high school education, had some brains. They had played with CAD in high school. You can start to teach them, find a network that was willing to help. I mean, I'll work with some artists that are trying to figure it out on their own, which is fine by me because then I can focus on other stuff and they can model their molds. And so I'll give them tips. Finding somebody that will mentor you, more or less a mini apprenticeship, is probably going to be the biggest thing. Without having somebody in the area, I'd say get involved with AFS, NIFs, find local artist hubs. They're all over. If you start looking, you find them, and somebody knows somebody that could help. And just start. It's
Sure.
without having a full apprenticeship, it's going to be hard.
Well, it sounds like somebody's going to know somebody who knows you. The way
Yeah, probably. Just tell them the mustache. I've got artists that call me Dave Matthews Sand. I'll get emails with that. That's how I'm saved in their phone. I'm like, at first she didn't want anybody to say it because she thought I was going to be mad, and I'm like, I've been called way worse. I'm like, that's kind of catchy. I like that. So, and whenever I see them, and now it's like, I go to these different pours, Paige Henry, she's an artist out here in Pittsburgh. She's the one that gave me that name. And I'm down in Birmingham, Alabama. And all of a sudden, it wasn't her, but somebody, hey, Dave Matthews Sand. And I'm like, okay, who is that? Paige somehow. Who's hollering? But yeah, you'll find it's a small world. Heck, I even got little like poker chip castings with my mustache on it. I've got like that T-Rex skull. I have those with it on the inside jaw. I even got a hat with it now. Putting it on the back. That's on my little branding iron. My logo.
Okay. You need to have a tiny T that has an actual mustache like yours.
Matter of fact, I talked to the guy that is over our digital artist. I said, hey, I want to cast one with a mustache. I talked to him yesterday about it, and he's like, well, we could go in and scan you and put your exact mustache on. I'm like, no, let's just let them do. Let's just let them
be creative.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, I want to cast one with it. And actually, I got my wife talked into it. She supports me in a lot of stuff, like most of us, like Kelly. They keep us grounded. But
yep.
I love my wife Joy. She's great, and I don't know if I talked her into it or if she's more excited. I think I'm more excited. One of these days, I'm going to cast about a 3-foot T-Rex skull, and we're putting it in the front yard. And we're going to cast the arms, and the arms are going to be coming up out of the ground. And then I'll put a book for people to sign that they've been there. But I've talked with the artist. I've talked with a couple of people in the industry, and they're like, "I'll pour it for you, no charge. I'll pour it." They want to pour it. It's like, okay, well, mind you, this is big, and Dave's got to come up with funding for it. So if people want to send me money so I can buy this mold, by all means. But yeah, no, that's my goal. Get the life size is like 5 foot for an adult, but I want a 3-foot one. It'd be, I think it's about somewhere between about 900 pounds or so. Now I'll get one of the local farmers to pick it off with their skid steer and put it right in my yard. I'll put some concrete down for it to sit on so it doesn't disappear.
Yeah, well, somebody's got to be pretty tough to pull in there and get that, or try to pick it up.
You see these guys that have the Buy Me a Cup of Coffee websites. Maybe you should have a Buy Me a Mold website or something,
Yeah, that works. Yeah. Support. Yeah, we've named them. We've got Tiny T, which is behind Nate. We got Lil T, which is a little bit bigger. I've got a 16-inch, I think he is, sitting at home. That's T. And then we're going to have, I forget what the 3-foot one, but the big one's going to be Mama T if I ever do a life size. So, but that's going to be an expensive mold.
Do it in bronze or do it in something cheap?
Well, right now, like all the artists I work with, I have access to iron all day long.
Iron, okay.
Yeah, I'd love to do one out of bronze. Maybe I could get Matthews to do it. Although I'm limited on what we could pour. Pour weight wise, it's going to be too heavy, so we couldn't pour it here. But I've got a buddy who's CEO of a steel foundry. He's like, I'll pour it for you. They do really big castings, and I said, man, I'm going to guess it's like a 1,300 pound pour weight or better. And he's like, yeah, we throw more than that away at times. Bring it on over. I want to pour it for you.
Wow.
I'm like, careful what you say. Dave might show up with a truck and a trailer with a bunch of mold sections.
Good to have friends.
So funny.
Yes, it is. It is. Yeah.
Well, this is probably,
but everybody's,
unless someone's got something else they want to talk about, it's probably a great place for us to just wrap up and get on with our days, especially you working guys. Get on with your days.
Yep.
Well,
definitely have stuff to get done.
Yeah. All right. Well, Dave, thank you.
Light up a couple times, so.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, thanks for taking the time this morning. Great conversation. It was fun. I enjoyed it. Hopefully you did as well. Nate, you got anything you want to add, or Dave?
No, I think they're good. We appreciate it, Dave. It's always a pleasure. You've always been a source of inspiration and knowledge, and it's always helpful to be able to bounce the ideas and stuff off of you. So we really appreciate your willingness to do that.
Oh, absolutely. I appreciate it. It's been fun. You guys are easy to talk with. So yeah, Nate and I talk off and on occasion, just personal levels, It's nice to have friends. So yeah,
for sure.
Appreciate you having me on.
When you come out to School of Mines, give me a ring. Well,
oh, absolutely will. I absolutely will.
I'll buy you a burger somewhere. All right, buddy. Well,
all right.
Thanks, guys. And you guys all have a great day.